What I've always been fascinated by is how easily people can be tuned in one way or another, like a guitar. You know, um, like if you go to school and you get bullied, all the kids gang up on you sometimes, and it's like the only reason they do it is because all the others do it. There's no special reason. You'll be told that maybe it's because you're fat or because you wear glasses or you're a nerd or something or gay or whatever. But the fact is, that's not the fundamental reason. There really is no such thing as the fundamental reason. You could be in a group where the guy with the glasses is the most popular. I've seen groups one way or another, one way and this way, where the small nerdy guy with the glasses was one of the most popular. It doesn't mean anything. Biological determinists will want to tell you that, oh, it's all objective. Beauty is objective. There's a certain shape your face needs to be, blah, 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 blah. But they don't recognize, they ignore the fact that all of that stuff is supervened by social manipulation, contingency. If you go to Japan, the beauty standard will be Japanese, Japanese, a handsome, slim Japanese man, let's say. But if you go to the U.S. or Afghanistan or Nigeria, it will be something completely different. Go somewhere else, still different. And so there really is no objective way to measure what is attractive or what is what is attractive essentially to people. That basically sums it up. Because then you'd have to get into the uncomfortable conversation of, so is the black guy less attractive? Is it because it's not just the shape? What about the color? What if the nose is a little bit wider, the mouth a little bit bigger? Are they then not objectively attractive anymore? Bullshit. It's all socially conditioned. It depends on where you live. If you go to live in Nigeria, eventually you will have to be attracted to black women, or you'll never get any. And you'll condition yourself to be attracted to them, right? It just has to be that way. If you look at how easily people are manipulated by their environment, it's just an incomplete analysis to say there is some objective mechanisms that go on. Bullshit. Just think about how easy it is to bend the person. If I go and meet somebody and I don't know him, and I drop my orange or something, and they end up picking up the orange for me, then I'm probably gonna like them now, because they've done a kindness to me, But if they end up kicking my orange away, I'm not gonna like them anymore. Really, regardless of what they look like. I can be prodded or cajoled into liking that person or disliking that person. And it seems to me that what they look like is secondary. So it gives people an easy way out when they theorize about biological determinism. When they say, oh, our theories solve everything. They don't solve everything until you've done the full analysis, I think. And the full analysis can never be complete, because things always move. They always go somewhere. That just seems very obvious to me. If you go into a room and you watch a comedy movie, like in your own room, you'll laugh. Maybe you'll feel good. If you watch a really messed up horror film about ghosts and zombies and shit, you might be too afraid to leave your room because you'll be so pissed afraid. So the things around you can flow in completely different directions depending on the situation, you know. And so I that's the reason why I wouldn't trust any groups. So like, say that you want to be a progressive person and you want to support the LGBT and so on. Well, it seems to me that if you went back like 50 years, almost nobody would support the LGBT of those who do now. And what it tells you is that they don't really believe their own shit. And that's just an example, but you can apply it to anything. But people, when they join a group, when they pick up the language of others, they don't really speak for themselves anymore. They get lost in the sauce. You know, one tide raises all boats, indeed. And so you look at a person who's progressive and you say, "Oh, he's a nice fella," you know. But take away the words, take away the concepts, take away the popular support, and then see what he does. Right? If he doesn't have the word, doesn't have the idea of being pro-LGBT in his head anymore, if he doesn't have the social forces that support it and reinforce it around him, if he doesn't have the colors on the flag to associate it to associate with the movement, and then you take this guy and you put him somewhere else where none of that is there. You can take a wild guess at what that guy is going to believe. At the very least, he's not going to be supportive. If he's again introduced those ideas, he might be supportive. But then again, he doesn't speak for himself. The idea speaks through him. The group speaks through him and for him. Right? And again, you can apply that to absolutely anything. How easily people are fooled. You know, you have a political pundit, not just a pundit, but like a political actor, and he comes and he takes away everything, and you know, and suddenly he gains millions of followers. It's not like he gained millions of followers because his ideas are brilliant or original. People are gravitate towards him because he has attractive features, and they cast him aside just as easily. Right? The sword of Damocles hangs over him. You know, sometimes literally, you get assassinated. So you know, like, if you look at Trump, for example, it's very obvious that Trump was elected, and people say this. They say he was elected because he was attractive to people, right? And that's supposed to be a good thing. That the only reason why you're selected as leader is because you crack some, you know, you've cracked some one-liners, you know. You've come up with some knee slappers. So now we're gonna you know, marshal support around you and curry favor for you. It's really silly and stupid. And it makes you believe that you can't really trust people anymore, or that you could never trust them at all. That you could have never trusted them even in the past. because one day they're this way and the next day they're that way, you know. Like, one memory I have is that when I went from school to school, I was always treated a little bit differently by everyone, right? In one school, I was really hated, and so forth and so on and so forth. In another school, I was okay. In some places, I was even liked. And the only reason is because I lost some weight or something or another. And it just, that's very depressing that this is how things work. You know, that when people make an argument for certain systems, like capitalism comes to mind, or anything else, right? Wars. I really don't want to get into it because, frankly, it's just no point. I guess it's just feels very uncomfortable. But people make these arguments that we should have capitalism because it works, right? And when you think about it, that's a pretty depressing statement. It's a very depressing way of looking at things. That we should only have this system because it works, right? That just because something works, it is therefore a good thing. Right? So if I have a bunch of slaves, and the slaves do work for me, and it works for me, and the slaves are fed, and so on and so forth, somehow it's a good thing, right? Because it works. And then if you come and replace it with feudalism, and that works, and that's okay too. Then capitalism comes around, that works, okay, it's good. And each of these groups will have defenders who will tell you why that specific thing is a good thing or a bad thing. But they can only compare it to what was before. They don't have the creativity enough to say, well, it sucks anyway, it's garbage, Even if it works, we should discard it. And if nothing else could come in its wake, then so be it. Let the whole thing die. Let go of it. Let it circle the drain. That idea doesn't come to them because they're mentally addicted to the idea that we need to make the machine move. We need to feed it the coal, the train, to keep moving, or the steamship to keep moving. It does not occur to them that they're wrong. It does not occur to them that the maniacs and the lunatics are right. They comprehend half of everything and think they have the full truth. So I always found it funny how people oscillate between supporting somebody and not supporting somebody. So if somebody, for example, is neurodivergent and is a victim of trauma and crimes against him, then they will say, oh, poor thing. But when that same person, clearly as a result of those bad experiences and bad situations, ends up doing something uncouth, or something which is seen as bad by society, by the sleepy eyes of society, the glassy eyes of society that watch but don't see, he's suddenly a beast and a monster, and they want to get him. Oh, he did this, he did that. Completely discounting the reasons why he did what he did in the first place. That if you have the legal right to set up shop somewhere, that means I no longer have the right to rob you. Even if I'm poor, even if I've been done injustice, I can't rob you and take your shit away from you, or even just a few of your items because I'm hungry or thirsty, just because the law gave you the ultimate right to preside over the things that you have in the store. But and you're not allowed to question whether that's right. You're not allowed to say, well, I see that you bought it, I see that it's yours, I see that it's lawful. But then again, I'm hungry and I don't have a lot of money, so I'm just gonna take it. No. You go to jail. Right? As if there was some kind of objective hand of the law which signed into, which signed into law that you're not allowed to do that. The jurisprudence says so. But it doesn't occur to them that maybe a little bit of theft is a good thing, to keep things, to feed the poor, or to call attention to the fact that some people don't have what they need, or just to shake things up a little. Why should people assume that just because things work, as it were, just because they move, and this goes back to the utilitarian argument, just because they move, just because they can function, just because of that everything is okay. So what it reminds me of is when Europeans bitch and whine about immigration, and they say they're coming into our continent and ruining everything. Everything works so swell. But they don't seem to recognize that it may have worked so swell, but now it no longer works. And the immigration is just one aspect of the breaking down of the system. And furthermore, that even though it worked, it doesn't necessarily mean that it was right or that it was good. They just, everybody just thinks, who supports a certain kind of system, a certain kind of system of jurisprudence, of law, whatever it may be, ideologies, that just because they work, that they are good. That just because there's no disruption to them, that they're good. And yeah, just somebody should just come and say, well, it might work, but it still sucks. Yeah. So